everyone, I'm Lauren Pisanik. I'm an OpenSciEd teacher in New Jersey. Today we're going to talk through Lesson 9, which is a one-day lesson that helps students figure out more about cloud formation. So let's get started. First, let's think back about how we got here. So during Lesson 8, we ran 3 mini investigations to figure out more about the behavior of water molecules. So we figured out, now we know that water molecules change state when they're cooled below a certain temperature. And as more and more water vapor molecules condense, they stick together and they form larger droplets. And that made us wonder why we don't see large water droplets everywhere in the cooler air above us, which is what we'll work to figure out in this lesson. So here's our lesson at a glance. Lesson 9 is a one-day lesson. So there's a short investigation you'll lead as a teacher demo. So there's minimal material gathering needed. You're going to need to prep a 2-liter soda bottle. And the teacher preparation video is very helpful to show how to do this and also the anticipated results. In the first chunk of the lesson, we read an article to gather information about cloud formation and then pause to set up a frost demonstration. The reading helps us figure out that clouds are made out of water droplets or out of water crystals and molecules of gas. And then we also learn in that reading that in order for condensation or deposition to start, water vapor needs a solid surface to stick to, and the air has to reach 100% humidity and be cooled. In the second part of the lesson, we use this information and our observations from the frost demo to explain why we see frost form. There's also another article for students to read at home. So here are those big ideas that we figure out in this lesson, Lesson 9. What clouds are made of, why we can see clouds, and then also what's needed in order for water vapor molecules to start the condensation process. At the end of this lesson, we're left wondering why clouds and storms form at some times, but not others. There are a couple of key moments in Lesson 9. In Part 2, students gather information from a scientific text about clouds. These details are really important. So with my students, we actually go through this together as a whole class. We read the article together and use close reading strategies to pause and identify the key ideas. After reading once, we'll stop and we'll set up our frost demonstration. And we have some tips and tricks to share around that demo. And then while we're waiting for the frost, we'll return to the reading and do a summary of the main ideas. I actually add in a Google Form reading check with this article just to help reinforce those ideas with the students and give them extra practice, because we're going to be coming back to these big ideas in future lessons. The article also references cloud seeding, and there's a lot of questions and interest about that. That is a really cool opportunity for extension if you have kids that want to do some independent research or be pushed further in that direction. In Part 3, the students take their observations and their ideas from the cloud article to explain why frost forms. We found our students had some difficulty with these questions initially. So we added in sentence stems, and we also gave them time to talk through the questions with their table groups first before trying to answer them individually. You could also consider alternative ways for students to share their thinking. Maybe they draw a model for this, or they just talk through their ideas rather than writing. The key here is that the students have practice taking those ideas from the cloud article and their observations and being able to use it in an explanation. We do use materials for the frost demonstration, so let's go over a few tips with that. The setup video really helpful. It will help you to create the soda bottle in the way that you need it for this. The key for this demo, it's a very simple demonstration, but it's really, really important to test it first yourself to ensure you get frost. I've been hit or miss with this in the past. The ice pack needs to be really cold, and you need to wipe off any moisture between classes especially. If you do run into the trouble with this and you're not getting frost, double check the temperature of the ice pack and also the temperature of the water. Warm tap water should work well. We also want to encourage the students, they're immediately looking for the frost, but observe the water level too. Does that change at all? No word wall terms are added in this lesson. And we also don't create any new posters or materials. We just look back at the consensus models we've already made. That's it for lesson 9. It's a short one-day lesson, but it's packed with a lot of information from that reading. So your students will leave this lesson figuring out how clouds form, and now they're wondering why they form it sometimes, but not others. So that's where we'll go for lesson 10. Hope to see you in the next video.